Inexplicable violence visited this island 2 years ago. A Highland paradise still hurting, still grieving. And they have every right to feel this way.
People will never forget the events of that day, nor should they. Skye has a population of about 11,000 people. It's a big place. It's actually bigger in London if you look at its landmass. When we had this incident on the 10th of August 2 years ago, it really was something that was quite alarming, quite concerning for people. And of course, you're talking about communities where a lot of people know each other.
This was a shooting and stabbing spree carried out by one of their own, Finlay MacDonald. His first victim, his own wife. Here in the home she was seeking help to flee, she survived a frenzied knife attack. Convinced she was having an affair, the innocent eyes of their 4 children witnessed the bloodshed, the tranquility of this landscape punctured by suffering, a 2-year-old crying, cradling her mum's body. The child's father drove off, the car loaded with a shotgun and ammunition. This was a rampage only just beginning, a journey that would be the darkest day in this island's history. A decade-old family feud escalating here at the home of his brother-in-law John MacKinnon. Fixated on losing a fight in 2013, Finlay executed him as the sound of blood-curdling screams echoed all around.
A callous coward whose actions have traumatised all those involved. There is no place in society for such a dangerous individual.
And still it was not over. A disconnect between this beauty and this horror on this day. Here, the aftermath of another shooting at another house involving another couple. This time, local osteopath John MacKenzie and his wife Fay. Their attacker wanting payback after becoming fixated. His back injury had been worsened following appointments here at their home.
She's permanent scarring. She describes being in hospital for 6 weeks, requiring to have operations and a subsequent hospital admission. Living with the scarring is a permanent reminder to her of the trauma of your attack. The attack has had a devastating impact on her physically and huge lasting emotional and psychological impacts.
Gun crime and the level of horror this court heard about is rare in the UK. But the jury here in Edinburgh were told about documented concerns around Finlay MacDonald's physical and mental health for years. He'd even made threats to kill. Yet, he was able to buy a brand new gun and a stash of ammunition just weeks before this violence.
I'm not necessarily saying that restrictions should be tightened, but the police can, in essence, ask anybody any question about giving someone access to firearms. The firearms stats prove that the crime is at its lowest ever in relation to firearms in Scotland. There are very few people who are revoked and refused by the police in relation to the applications of firearms because the process generally works, but people will occasionally go off the rails.
No one's saying that we shouldn't have access to firearms where people need it for work or indeed for leisure, but we need to make sure that we've got the appropriate legislation in place.
Questions this island will raise as they come to terms with this trauma, a place that now wants to be left alone. Conor Gillis, Sky News.